Hey guys, Jordan here, and welcome back to my gaming channel named It's Game Productions. And it has been a long time since I last uploaded a video to this channel. It's actually been rather a long time, and I apologise for that. I honestly really do apologise, but as I said before in the last video, work has really been piling up for me. I'm actually on the lead up to exam season at the moment, so a lot of work's having to go in at school and stuff like that. So I am trying as hard as I can to actually get content out to you guys. It's just rather difficult with the amount of time I have to spend doing my my job and my schoolwork. So hopefully it should be a bit more frequent now. Even though I am on the lead up to my exams, I should actually have a little bit more free time, so I should be doing a little bit better. But yeah, we'll get straight into it. So the first question is from the Mighty Screw, and he says, I currently have an old 1680 by 1050 monitor, and I'm thinking of upgrading to a 1920 by 1080 monitor. Is it worth the upgrade? And if so, do you know a good 1080p monitor for around £100? He also says, is this a good gaming PC build for £200? So to start off with, if I could recommend any in terms of is it worth upgrading to 1920 by 1080? Yes, it's hugely worth upgrading to 1080p. You get a lot of extra resolution, and it really does increase the sharpness of the image you get. You don't have to use anti-aliasing as much on 1080p, and it will really improve your viewing experience. In terms of a good 1080p monitor for around £100, I could personally recommend the monitor I use at the moment, which is the LG 22EA53VQ, and it's an IPS monitor. And what an IPS monitor is, it's basically the type of panel in there which gives you really good colours, really good viewing angles, and yeah, it works pretty well for gaming. The response time is relatively well, it's pretty much the same as my old LCD standard TFT monitor, so I can really say it's pretty good for gaming. Actually, I get on with it really well, and it was about £120 or so, I believe, and it is a really nice monitor. Lots of inputs, and it uses not much power either, which is always good. And then with your is this a good gaming PC build for £200, you've linked me to a shopping basket on Aria which doesn't actually work, unfortunately. You either need to use a PC part picker link or something like that, and I should hopefully be able to answer your question next episode. And Rotatable Axe says, I have the same problem with my mouse cutting out. The person in the last episode had a problem with his mouse cutting out, but he has a wired mouse. I think it's a fault with the mouse or the drivers. If your mouse is cutting out, it is most likely a fault with the mouse itself, or it could be the USB port. If you try switching it to a different USB port, see if it keeps on cutting out. If it keeps on cutting out, then you should probably get in contact with Cyborg, the manufacturers of the Rat3 mouse that you're using, and ask them if they can exchange it for a new one, because that is not what should be happening with a mouse, especially a gaming mouse. It's more than an annoyance there, isn't it, really, if it keeps on cutting out. So yeah, you should really get in contact if that happens, but first try switching it into a different USB port. James Wiseman says, can you recommend any good Battlefield 4 servers that use all or just DLC max, preferably Conquest? By the way, great vids. Yes, actually, Jack Frags has actually just created a server. If you don't know who Jack Frags is, he's quite big in the Battlefield scene, I have to say, and he's got a server which is map packs only, Conquest large, I believe, which if you just type Jack Frags in on the server search on Battlefield 4, it's not called Battlefield 4, it's called Battlelog, isn't it? It will come up, and yeah, they're very good players, actually, very good quality of players on there, so it is really quite fun to play. The next question is from MapleSauce97. He says, hey Jordan, looking to get a PC, would an i5 3670K overclocked to 3.8 GHz be able to run a GTX 780? Also, what wattage would be needed for that processor with either that graphics card or one you suggest? I'm assuming you either mean an i5 4670K or a 3570K, because as far as I know, there isn't a 3670K out. I could be wrong. They could have recently updated the Haswell range, but I don't really know. Was it Ivy Bridge? Third series is Ivy Bridge, I believe. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, it is Ivy Bridge. As I was saying, an i5, I'm going to guess it's an i5 3570K you're on about, overclocked 3.8 GHz, would run a GTX 780 perfectly fine. And in terms of what wattage would be needed with that processor and graphics card, quality 600 watt power supply or above would easily run it. 600 700 watt would easily run that, as long as it's a quality power supply from a good manufacturer, someone like Be Quiet or Cooler Master or Antec or something like that. And yeah, That would be fine. It would work really, really well, and yeah, it would be good. The next question is from the Vidster, and he says it's not really a question, but it is pretty much a question. He says, explain about getting all the necessary software in a custom-built PC. In terms of all the software you obviously need an operating system, and then you'll need your drivers for any of your things, which you can download from the manufacturer's website, or they do include them on a disk, but they can sometimes be out of date, so it is always best to get them from the website. And then I use this tool called Ninite, spelled Ninite. And what that does is you basically go on the website, tick all of the different things you want installing, be it like Chrome or Steam or something like that. Download a little file, and then it will automatically install all of those programs for you straight away without installing any of like the adverts and the bloatware and the toolbars and things like that. And it is a really good piece of software and completely automates everything you need to do. So that's what I'd recommend, using Ninite to install all of your software after you have installed your graphics drivers and your operating system and all that lot. Next question is from Jesus, and he says, what's the best site for pre-built PCs in the UK? I know of 2 sites that I have second-hand experience of dealing with in terms of ordering pre-built PCs, and that is PC Specialist and Dino PC in the UK. And they're both very good. I'd probably recommend PC Specialist if you want to get a laptop, and Dino PC if you want a desktop, just because Dino PC's prices seem a lot more competitive than PC Specialist. And both the people I know who have ordered them have had pretty good experiences. I know for certain that the friend I have 2 friends who have ordered from PC Specialist. One got exactly what he ordered, and one he had a couple of issues with what they delivered as to how it compared with what he ordered. But he sent it back and they fixed it for him. All well and good. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. The next question is from Contented Gamer. He says, what computer gaming peripherals do you use? My mouse is a Perix MX2002, and my keyboard is a CM Storm Quickfire TK, which is like the sort of 10 keyless key. It's a short keyboard, but it still has a number pad. Yeah, I love them. I love them to bits, actually. I really do get on with them really, really well. And I've had them for a fair few months now, and they've been going very, very strong. It's brilliant. Next question is from Spencer Flanagan. He says, I have an Xbox 360 and want to get into gaming on PC. I'm going to get a laptop. In an old video of yours, you said an Acer Aspire 5750G would run Battlefield 3 on high settings. Should I get it because it's in my budget of around 500 quid, but you never recommend it anymore? Should I get this laptop? An answer would be great. And I wouldn't recommend you get it anymore at all. It's quite an old laptop. I think it's actually discontinued now. I mean, I did make the video 2 years ago. So, yeah, I doubt it's being made anymore. So I would not recommend you get that laptop. In terms of a budget of around 500 quid and you want to run sort of Battlefield and stuff like that, if you really, really can't get a desktop, I mean, I would recommend you get a desktop over anything else. But if you really, really need the portability of a laptop, I would probably look at some of the Lenovo laptops, because they have really pretty good value for money in terms of what you can get in terms of graphics, performance and such. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend. And the Hamster Knight said, how much would I need to spend on a laptop? Oh no, it says actually underneath, a desktop, sorry, to run Battlefield 4 on max everything. Probably around £600 to £700. It's not actually that expensive anymore. I mean, that's if you're running at 1080p Ultra everything, and that would run it at probably run it at about nearly 100 frames a second, probably max. Maybe not 100, but definitely over 60 frames per second maxed out. At 1080p, so yeah, you would be looking at, probably if you just want to get 60 frames per second, probably £500-600 you'd need to spend on a desktop to get those sort of frame rates in that game. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'd recommend you look into spending, if I'm honest. The next question is from Singate Productions, and he says, hey man, I don't want to upgrade any of the parts of my PC, but do you have any suggestions as to any performance tweaks I can do? I have an Nvidia graphics card, but overclocking is not an option. I've already unpacked my CPU, thanks in advance. Performance tweaks you could do related to software. You could download Razer Game Booster, which auto optimizes your system as it detects you go into a game and like disables background processes and things like that you don't really need, and will increase your frames per second and your gaming performance. And I would also recommend you get GeForce Experience, and what that is because you have an Nvidia graphics card, you go on GeForce Experience and it basically recommends what settings you need to use on a certain game to get a desirable frame rate, and it worked really, really quite well. I use it on my laptop, which has a GeForce graphics card, and it works very well. So yeah, that is what I would recommend. The last question on this episode is from The Sandwich, and he says, my friend recently got a new gaming PC with an NVIDIA GTX 560 video card, and he says that the 560 is better performance-wise than my GTX 650. Is this true, and why? And yes, it is true. The GTX 560 is faster than the GTX 650, and you can sort of tell this by either looking at benchmarks, but what you can also tell is with the NVIDIA cards, the 3-number sort of naming system has been around for quite a while, and basically the first number is what generation the card is. The second and third numbers are basically how well performed they are in that segment, so in that generation, sorry. So a 560 is the 5th generation card, and it is like 60 out of like well, it went up to 80, so 60 out of 80 performance wise, if that sort of makes sense. And a GTX 650 is the 6th generation, and it's 50 out of 80 performance wise, if that sort of makes any sense. And yes, the 560 is faster than the 650 in the majority of games. So anyway guys, thank you for your questions. I hope I've answered them pretty well, and please be sure to leave more questions in the comments below, and I'll try to get a new episode out within a week, hopefully, depending on how much work and stuff like that and how much revision I have to do. But yeah, anyway guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment, all that awesome stuff, and goodbye.